All right, let's dive into this. Today we're talking about something pretty heavy, one of the toughest phases of life. But we're also talking about a surprisingly powerful tool that can protect our happiness when we need it most. It's called the social buffer.
You know, it's a question we've all probably thought about. For decades, a person's life satisfaction can be pretty stable, and then in their final years, it just takes a nosedive. So why does that happen? Well, there's actually a name for this. Scientists call it terminal decline. And while it's a common pattern, the way it plays out is hugely different for everyone. Some people see a really dramatic drop, while others, somehow, manage to keep their spirits up almost to the very end.
And that's the key right there. This decline, it isn't a given. It's not inevitable. And some fascinating new research suggests that the secret to staying resilient in those final years might be found in a place we totally underestimate.
So, first, let's just quickly look at what most people assume is happening during this final decline.
The obvious answer, right? It's gotta be biology. Failing health, disability, just not being able to do what you used to. It makes perfect sense that as your body starts to weaken, your spirit does too. But what if that's only part of the story? Just one piece of a much bigger puzzle? What if our social lives play a role that's just as important, maybe even more so? Well, that's exactly what this massive study set out to figure out.
And this is where we get to the core of this research, looking beyond the purely physical stuff.
Researchers tapped into this incredible resource, the German Socioeconomic panel study. And the scale of this thing is just mind-blowing. We're talking about data from nearly 3,000 people tracked for up to 27 years, right up to the end of their lives. It's given us this totally unprecedented look at what's really going on.
Now, to make sure they were really looking at the power of social connection, the scientists were super careful. They controlled for all the usual suspects, things like age, gender, education, disability, even recent hospital stays. That way, they could be pretty darn sure that what they were seeing wasn't just a side effect of bad health.
And this, for me, is where it gets really, really insightful. The researchers broke down this big idea of a social life into two very different parts: what you actually do and what you value.
Okay, so think of it this way. On one side, you have social participation. That's the doing. It's your behavior. Are you actually out there volunteering, playing a sport, going to events? Then, on the other side, you have social goals. That's the valuing. It's all about your mindset. How important is it to you deep down to help people and be a part of things? The study measured both.
So was it worth it? Did being social actually pay off in the end? Let's get to the results.
First, let's get a baseline. On average, the researchers found that this steep drop in well-being, that terminal decline, it kicked in about 4.6 years before a person passed away. So about 4.5 years. Keep that number in your head.
And here is the first major finding. You can see it clear as day on this chart. The people who were more socially active, the doers, they didn't just start out with a higher level of well-being. Their decline was way less severe. It's like having an active social life act as a powerful shield.
And get this, the exact same thing was true for the valuers, even if they weren't as active. The people who simply placed a high personal importance on being social and helping others also had higher well-being and a much gentler decline. It proves that your mindset can be just as powerful as your actions.
So what's the flip side? Well, the study found that the absolute worst outcomes were for people who had both low social activity and placed a low value on social connection. It's like a vicious cycle. Being isolated and not caring about it is a uniquely damaging combination.
But the study didn't stop there. It uncovered something else. Something that kind of goes against everything we'd probably assume. A real paradox.
I mean, you'd think that a strong focus on family, your partner, your kids, would be the ultimate defense against loneliness and despair, right? That has to be the strongest buffer there is.
You're not going to believe this. After they accounted for those broader social connections, the study found that valuing family goals showed almost no extra protective effect. It's a really startling result.
So what on earth could be going on here? Well, the study's authors offer a theory. They basically say that family life is often a mixed bag. Yeah, it's a source of incredible joy, but especially in later life, it can also be a major source of worry, stress, and sorrow. It's just complicated.
So, let's tie this all together. What is the big lesson? What are we supposed to take away from all of this data?
I think the best way to think about it is like this.
A strong social orientation, both doing things and valuing those connections, it builds a psychological buffer. It's like an emotional rainy day fund that you build up over your life. A reserve that helps you absorb the inevitable shocks and stresses that come at the very end.
So the message from all this is incredibly clear. 1. Stay active. Get involved. Your participation really matters. 2. Cultivate a mindset that values other people. Your internal goals matter. And 3, maybe most importantly, build your buffer now. This isn't just a strategy for old age. It's about investing in a resource that will protect you when you really, truly need it most.
Which really leaves us with just one last question to think about. If a social life is like a psychological savings account for your future self, what kind of deposits are you making today?